Hello and welcome. I'm Claire Feldman, your host and guide on this journey to thriving in private practice without the burnout. Are you a passionate therapist who's struggling with the entrepreneurial side of things? Do you wish you could serve great fit clients at times that suit you? Are you seeking financial stability so you can continue doing what you love? If so, then you're in the right place. I know firsthand the difficulties of navigating the business aspects of therapy, from building a website to managing social media, but I've made all the mistakes so you don't have to. Together we'll explore how you can build and grow your dream practice. So let's get started.
Hi everybody and welcome to part 2 of this podcast mini-series, which is looking at navigating the summer season if you're a therapist in private practice. So if you haven't already listened to it, do go back and listen to the last episode, which is episode 15, where I talk through some of the proactive steps that you can take now to really try and minimize disruption to your private practice over the summer holidays. What I'm going to cover then in this podcast episode are the 5 key things that I would invite you to look at during the quieter period around your marketing, and really like some of the things that maybe we procrastinate over, some of the activities that we keep meaning to get to, but we get too engrossed in our client work and that we don't dedicate enough time to really working on the business rather than in the business. So these are the 5 things that during these quieter periods where maybe you have some clients that are away, that you can start really focusing on these activities, because they will absolutely pay off for you in the long run. So the first thing that I would encourage you to do, and it's a really important thing that I think therapists don't often think about, is to actually review how effective is the marketing that you're doing currently. Ideally, you would want to have some sort of measure, some sort of system for tracking, like where are your clients coming from? So when they get onto an introductory call, for example, with you, are you asking them how they find out about you? Are you asking like where they seen your practice advertised? Because ideally you would want to have some sort of a tracker. It could just be a simple spreadsheet where you're making a note of where this referral has come from. That's going to be really important to help you understand what's working for you and what's not working for you. So almost like doing a little mini audit. So look at the things that you've been advertising on, whether it be your directory profiles, through your website, maybe you've been doing like a Google ad, all of the different marketing channels that you have and which ones have actually been bringing through inquiries and bringing through clients. I would usually recommend for most people, of all the marketing efforts and channels that you're using, that you really give it a good 90 days of consistent effort to then be able to make a decision about which ones are worth keeping and which ones aren't. And so if you have been maybe spending money on a few directory profiles and only one of them is actually is leading to inquiries and is leading to clients, that maybe what you can consider is, with the money that you're paying on the other directory profiles, could that money be invested into some other form of marketing that might actually pay off more than the directory profiles are? So that's your first port of call. Before you do anything, it's a great opportunity to sit, reflect, look at everything that you've been doing, what's been working, what hasn't been working, and possibly also having a little bit of a reality check with yourself in like questioning how consistent have you actually been. Did you intend that you were going to post 3 times a week and actually you've only posted on your social media once a month, for example? So you also do need to have a wee bit of a maybe real talk conversation with yourself to explore where have you maybe been neglecting some of your marketing efforts as well. So that's point 1. The next thing I would get you to consider is like, what are the regular marketing tasks, like I've just mentioned, that perhaps have been a little bit neglected over the previous months. So think about kind of like, what are your basics? Like, what are the fundamentals that in your marketing strategy that you had really intended to be consistent around? So like for me, with my private practice, my marketing is much less focused on social media. So I actually don't use Instagram any longer for my private practice. Just purely because I don't have the time to be able to dedicate to two different marketing to two different Instagram accounts. So in my private practice, I don't actually use Instagram anymore. My marketing has been focused around blog writing, to improve my SEO, and my next strategy is going to be around Google Ads and running Google Ads directly to my website and just letting my marketing kind of run on an evergreen basis in the background. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on. So think about your marketing, your private marketing, your strategy. What are kind of the fundamental things that you have that you intended to do on a consistent basis? So that might be like, how often had you planned to post on your social media, offering real value posts to your audience, but also letting them know about your availability and how you work, and inviting them to book a call with you. Like, how often are you actually doing that? I had a conversation with a mentee last week, that she actually gets most of her referrals and her inquiries through Instagram, and we had kind of a conversation around, how often are you letting people know that you have availability? How often are you letting them know about your services? And although it felt to her like she was doing it quite regularly, what we know is that on Instagram, only 6% of your audience are seeing your posts at any one time. So trust me, if you think you're posting lots about what you do, and you think you're posting lots about your availability and how you work, I guarantee you it's not enough, bearing in mind that such a small percentage are seeing it. So you do need to actually be doing that consistently so people can see it. So what are the things that you've committed to? What is your plan around how you're using social media? How often are you writing a blog or recording a podcast? What about networking? Is that something that you had intended to do and it's fallen by the wayside? Maybe you had wanted to set up an email newsletter to start writing and sending emails on a consistent basis to your audience. Are those things that maybe you hadn't quite managed to do? And which ones would be good for you to maybe prioritize now in these quieter periods, and think about getting caught up on those marketing activities. So it can be a great time to do things like batch creating content, and really just doing a bit of a brainstorm around like, what are some of the topics that might be really good to talk about over the summer period? What are some of the things that really might be helpful for my audience at this time? Doing a bit of a brainstorm and then batch creating some content and scheduling those posts so that you know that those are kind of taken care of and that they're done. Blogging is always the one that therapists will tell me they keep meaning to do, they keep intending to get round to, and then it always ends up on the procrastination pile. And I think it's because therapists kind of make out a blog to be a much bigger deal than what it is. I think a lot of fear comes up, a lot of fear of judgment about who's going to read the blog, what are they going to think, are they going to criticize me, are they going to tell me that it's rubbish, and that just tends to lead to complete and utter avoidance. I think another thing that therapists think that a blog should be is that it should be like really solving a client's problem and a client's difficulty, and they are almost writing it like they would write a case study on their course. A blog should be something that's just very simple, like maybe 1,000 words max, and all you're offering is just some tips. like 5 strategies, like 5 tips to minimize anxiety, for example. It should be just something simple, authentically written, in your own words, in a very conversational tone. It doesn't need to be something complex. It is, I promise you, not as big a deal as what you think it is. And you're doing this, number one, to offer value to your ideal client, but probably more importantly, to help with keywords being on your website and to help traffic being driven to your website. Blogging is very much a long-term strategy, and it absolutely does pay off. Most of the referrals I get now through my private practice come directly through my website. I'm able to now start bypassing directory profiles, and it's because of the blogging that I did last year that is all paying off now this year. So I highly recommend that if you have a website, that blogging be part of your marketing strategy. And then thinking about your email newsletter, if this is something that you have set up. This is something within my membership community. We did loads of work around last month that we as a community all created a lead magnet, which is basically a free offer, a free resource that you promote and offer through your website for your ideal client in exchange for their email address, and they sign up to your email list, and then you build relationships via email by sending them out little tips, little insights, maybe resources that might be helpful, and really build up that know, like and trust factor through email. You've maybe heard me talking before. For me personally, my priority is always, my marketing is focused around the platforms that I know that I own and that Mark Zuckerberg or somebody just can't come away and like close my account or it be hacked or algorithms kind of change. So my marketing is always prioritized by my website and my email as well. And so like within the community, that's things I'm always trying to reiterate and focus on, that social media is amazing. It has a great place. It can be fantastic for private practice promotion and marketing, but you don't own them. So you have to be really mindful of that. So I've gone off on a few little tangents there, which is kind of classic Claire style, but hopefully that's given you some little things to think about. What are the things that you, maybe at the start of the year or maybe when you wrote your marketing strategy, what are the things you said you were going to do? Have you been doing them? And is this an opportunity now to get caught up on those tasks? Get your posts scheduled for over the summer period, get that blog written, get it on your website, get it done. The thing about those kinds of activities, are really all marketing activities, is that often they don't have any immediate effect, and that can be the frustrating thing, that we think that we're going to post something and it's going to immediately convert into a client. It just does not work like that. Certainly not nowadays. It doesn't work like that. Everything you're doing is laying the foundation for future contact. And always please do have that in your mind when you're thinking about marketing. This is long term, that you're doing these things because they will pay off for you in the future. So number 3, what are the things that you're currently doing that might need a bit of a sprucing up? So this is really about improving your existing marketing materials. When was the last time you went in and had a little look at your website to see, like, what does it look like on a mobile phone? Is it properly optimized? How quickly does your website load when you go in and click on the link? I was doing some audits. I've been doing some audits within the membership community over the last couple of weeks, and it really is sometimes the simplest of things that we miss on our website that could literally make a difference between someone booking a call with you and not booking a call with you. So I want you to spend a little bit of time pulling up your website on your mobile phone, because most people will look at your mobile phone, and actually going through your website like a user, pretending that you have never ever seen this website before, and just see, what is the experience like as a user? Does your website jump out and speak to you within the first 5 seconds? That makes it really clear what your niche is and who your ideal client is? Are all the links on your website working? Does it really clearly help a client or user to navigate through your website and prompt them to book a call with you? Are all your links to your social media accounts working, for example? So go in and literally go through that process of what it's like to be on your website. Do all the buttons work? Do all the links work? Is it really clear what you do? Is it really clear how to get in contact with you, how to book a call? And look at, are there any opportunities there to give it a little bit of a refresh, give it a little bit of a revamp? And look at things like, how clear is the text? Is it easy to read? Again, was looking at some websites last week where, based on the colorings that were put on the website, the colorings didn't work with the font colorings, and actually it was really difficult to read. If it's really difficult to read, if there's too much text, people will just bounce straight off your website. So I would really encourage you to go in and see, where does this need a bit of a revamp? Where does this need a bit of a refresh? Where are some of these maybe links broken, that things aren't really running smoothly? And spend a little bit of time working on that. The other thing that it's a great thing to do is go into your directory profiles and look at opportunities to improve and tweak that. Directory profiles do like you going in quite regularly and updating your content and refreshing your content. That can really help from a algorithm perspective, that it looks like this is an active profile and you're updating it regularly. If you don't have a video on your directory profile, I would really encourage you to add a video if the profile that your directory that you're advertising on allows that. So I know Psychology Today does have a video. I'm not sure about the other ones, but if there is a facility to add a video, definitely add a little directory video. It's only literally like 15 seconds long, but profiles that have videos absolutely get more hits. They get around 30% more hits than those that do not. And very similar to what I've just said about your website, also applies to your directory profile. Directory profiles are so saturated now. And really, unless you were featuring on the top page in the search for whatever your ideal client is searching for, unless you're featuring in the top page, I think it's going to be increasingly difficult to get clients through directory profiles. I just think they're getting more and more saturated, and that profiles are just going to be lost in there. So to get any clients through your directory profiles, your directory profile has to really stand out. It has to look unique, and it has to speak directly to your ideal client. And if you imagine what the directory profiles look like from a client's perspective, that there's maybe 10 to 15 different profiles, counsellor profiles, that are appearing on that one page, and all they will see is your picture and maybe 3 or 4 lines. Those first 3 or 4 lines must speak directly to your ideal client and their difficulties. If your first few lines just say something like, "Hi, welcome to my profile," or "Hi, I'm an integrative counsellor with BAPCP, blah, blah, blah," whatever, like that means nothing, absolutely nothing to a client. So you want your first few lines to speak directly to them. Are you struggling with? Do you feel like that kind of language that is speaking straight to them and straight to the difficulties that they have? And then when you actually click in on your directory profile, is it in just very normal, simple, emotive language that you're using, or are you writing in any sort of therapeutic jargon? If you have things like you offer safe, non-judgmental space, if you have things like words like dysregulation, or talking about trauma, or that you're talking about modalities or anything like that, anything that is therapist jargon, take it out and write what you do as if you were explaining it to somebody, like a young person, as if you were speaking to a teenager. How would you explain what you do and how you help your ideal client in a very, very simple way? The next thing is looking at your social media profiles. Do they need a little bit of a revamp? So is your Instagram bio completely optimized? By optimized, I mean, does it say very clearly and concisely who your ideal client is, what your niche is, and what you have to offer? Do you have links in your Instagram bio that take people either to your free offering on your website or that direct them to your services in a really nice, clean and consistent way? You could think about, and I know that this can be a wee bit controversial for therapists, you could think about optimizing your personal Facebook profile for marketing purposes. For me personally, my Facebook is not a social platform for me any longer. I don't really engage with friends on there anymore. So I'm quite happy to use my personal Facebook profile for marketing purposes. Feel free to go in and look me up on Facebook, Claire Feldman, and have a little look at my personal Facebook profile and how I have it optimized. Basically, I have a very clear little headshot for the little profile picture. My cover photo is, I think, a banner that is advertising the enriched practice. And in my bio, I have links to my free Prosper in Private Practice guide, and I have links, I think, to my membership as well. So as a therapist, you could do exactly the same thing that you could have in your cover photo. It could be your website banner. It could be a photo of you, a tagline related to your private practice niche. In your bio, you could have links to your directory profiles, and you could have links to your website. And if you have a free offer that people can sign up to, you could have all that on your personal profile. And then obviously you could just make sure that the rest of your Facebook account is locked down on private. So the only things that you're making public is things that you actually want people to be driven to and to see. And that can be really effective for marketing your private practice if you are maybe in local Facebook communities, promoting your services, or just responding to comments, or you're in Facebook communities where your ideal client hangs out, that it's a great way to market yourself, that if you're responding to comments or answering questions or anything like that, that people will be curious, click on your personal Facebook profile, see what you do, and then click to your links as well. And then the final thing, and this is something that's definitely on my to-do list, is consider things like, would it be a good opportunity to get some photos of yourself taken? Now, this doesn't have to be an expensive professional photo shoot. This could just be like a friend that has a really good camera, or it could be like a friend or somebody, a family member that has a really good eye for taking some nice photos. I'm thinking about doing like a little bit of a batch kind of photo shoot where you could have like photos of yourself, maybe like in your office, in your place of work, doing some photos like that. But also it could be really nice to do some kind of lifestyle style photos where you're in your casual clothes, you're maybe like walking in a park, walking on a beach, walking your dog, sitting in a coffee shop, having a coffee, like just getting a load of different variety of photos, like getting a real good batch of little photos like that are really handy for you to have for your marketing, really handy for your website, really handy for posting on social media, for putting in blogs. Like you can repurpose and reuse those photos for so many different reason. So if you have a couple of hours free in an afternoon, do a few little quick changes and get like lots of different photos of you in lots of different environments, lots of different perspectives. And I think in particular, thinking about moving away from the public perception of, or what we traditionally have seen, maybe the public perception of what a therapist is, you know, a blank canvas kind of cardigan wearing person with no personality and that doesn't give anything away. We're so far removed from that now. It's okay for you to be your own authentic self. It's okay for you to show your personality and who you are. And so like, why not let that kind of be presented, that side of you be presented through your photos in really nice, natural, relaxed kind of way. That could be a really, really helpful task to do over those quieter periods. The next thing, number 4, is looking at new marketing opportunities for you. I love thinking outside the box and just doing things a little bit differently. So like when you've done that review of like your marketing activities and what's working and what's not working, this is a great time to think about, well, what could I maybe do differently? Do you spend much time on your Instagram in your stories? Do it like engaging with your audience? Do you ever go live in your Instagram stories? What about doing little polls, little quizzes, little questions? Like those sorts of interactive type of activities are actually what really help build relationships and help somebody convert into a client. Maybe if you've never experimented with doing ads before, you could use the money that's maybe not been working on your directory profile, and you could experiment with doing something like Google Ads instead and running a little ad to your website and see if that helps. It could be you play about, now I'm saying this and I'm never going to do this. It could be you experiment with TikTok. All the kids tell me that TikTok is the place to be and that you can grow a huge following on TikTok. My ideal client doesn't really hang out there, so I'm quite cool with not trying TikTok. But if your ideal client is there, if you work with young people, then you probably do want to think about experimenting with TikTok if you haven't already. Maybe it's something that you wouldn't ordinarily think about. This came up in conversation in my community last week as well. And I kind of call it borrowing somebody else's audience. And what I mean by this is that if you work in a particular niche and you're maybe just getting started, you're just growing, you have a social media account, but you don't really have much of a following, like think about, are there any other professionals that work in a field that have your ideal client, they already have an audience established, but that you wouldn't be stepping on their toes by collaborating with them. So an example could be somebody like, like a personal trainer, a holistic therapist, something like that, where your ideal client is in their audience. And what if you did some sort of a collaboration? Maybe you did an Instagram live together where you had a conversation about a particular topic. Maybe that you deliver a webinar together, or you come together to run a workshop, for example. If they have a good size audience and your ideal client is in it, that it's a great opportunity for lots of eyes to then be on your account and your profile and to maybe start engaging and start following you. So like actually when I delivered this webinar last week, we were exploring and talking about what that could look like. So for example, there's somebody in my membership who her niche is postnatal depression. So we were kind of having a conversation about, what other professionals could you collaborate with? And we were talking about like physiotherapists that specialize in pelvic health and things like that. And Pilates teachers and all of these people that might be in the local area that specialize in that postpartum, but that do a completely different job, so there's no stepping on anybody's toes, and that collaboration could work really well, that sort of holistic mind and body approach. So that's a great thing to think about if you have a small audience, but you know who your ideal client is, you know who your niche is. What other professionals serve your ideal client? Can you connect with them? Can you collaborate? And that's a great opportunity to increase your audience and your engagement as well. And the final thing then is that in the summer and in the quieter periods, like I said, it's all about reflecting, all about reviewing, all about looking at what's working, what's not working, what can I do differently. It's a great time to think about streamlining. Like, is everything in my practice working as smoothly and efficiently as it could be? Or am I faffing about a lot with paperwork, with admin? Is there a lot of back and forth? Like, if I get an inquiry coming through, is there like huge amounts of emails back and forth before I actually get to speak or see the client? Am I still doing pen and paper for all my notes, and I've got like drawers and drawers and drawers of notes that are building up? Is there anything that I could invest in to make things a little bit easier or run a little bit smoothly for me? So for me, like, this is just my personal opinion, but I do not want clients like emailing me to get in contact to have a discovery call and then having to do this whole back and forth. My phone is permanently on silent, so I do not want people ringing me at all different times of day or night or when I'm not available and can't answer. So for me, I have Calendly on my website. I have preset my availability, and if clients want to book a discovery call, they do it at a time that I have predetermined and preset, and I know that I'm going to be available. So I much prefer that is all automated, and then when they book in a call, they get an email, they get a reminder. I ask them, there's a little Google form I send and ask them to fill in some information before the call, so I'm not going into the call blind. So all of that I have set up. About a year ago, I then made the move, finally, after 12 years in practice, finally made the move away from old paper and pen, and invested in Write-Up. Which I really love because all my clinical notes are now stored digitally in the one place. I use Write-Up for my video calls. Clients get appointment reminders. I do my invoicing all through the platform as well. So everything is sort of centralized. If you can hear a noise in the background, just ignore it. It's my dog Lucy is having a little scratch attack on my beautiful velvet chair. So I'm trying not to get annoyed, trying not to get distracted by that, but just ignore that if you can hear that in the background. I'm thinking about things like, are you organized? I am the least organized person in the world. I tend to have everything in my head, and I'm not really good at recording it. And kind of tracking my progress and things like that. So again, last year I started using a project management tool called Trello. It's free, and I use that to kind of keep track of my goals, my weekly tasks, activities. I have a VA, and so I allocate her tasks all through Trello. It's a great little thing you can do where you can connect with other people that you're delegating tasks to. You can set dates, you can tick off activities when they're complete and things like that. It's just a way of me trying to be a little bit less ADHD and a little bit more kind of organized in what I'm doing. I still have a long way to go with it, but I'm doing my best to try and keep myself a little bit more kind of organized from that perspective. So think about things like your client booking system, think about things like practice management software, think about project management tools to kind of keep you organized with all your activities and your to-dos. Think about your payment processing. Are you just using Bax transfer, or might it be good to have things like Stripe links and things for ease of payment as well? So great opportunity. Lots of these things like Write-Up and project management are either free or will have free trial periods. So it's a great time to go in and maybe do some free trials of some of the things that you're interested in and seeing which might be a good investment for you to do. So those are, although I've kind of said they're the 5 key things, there was like a million things under each of the 5 headings, but you know what I'm like, I get a bit carried away. I want to give you all the information. I want to help you as much as I can, and hopefully in all of that stuff I have shared with you in this podcast episode today, that there have been some little words of wisdom, some little nuggets, and some little ideas that you can take away and try and put into practice. And just a final little word from me. I've had so many conversations recently with therapists that are feeling just so exhausted in their private practice, feeling like they're banging their head off a brick wall, feeling like they're trying things and it's not working and it's failing, and just getting really exhausted, and they're losing hope with it, is kind of the best way that I can describe it. I totally understand. This is not easy. Setting up in private practice is not easy. It's absolutely more challenging now than it ever has been before. Certainly, we are in very different times post-pandemic than what we were pre-pandemic. So it is challenging, it is difficult, but this is very much a long-term strategy. There is no quick wins anymore. There are no quick kind of fill your private practice quickly in so many days type things. Like, that is just not a reality for most people. The reality for most therapists in private practice is this is going to be something that you're going to have to dedicate time to. Set aside time every single week to be working on your marketing, to be doing these things like writing that blog and doing that post and all of that kind of stuff. And I promise you, it absolutely does pay off. It just doesn't pay off as quickly as what we would like it to do. So I understand that you can become disheartened, that you can lose hope, but it absolutely is something that can and will pay off for you as long as you are putting in that consistent effort and dedicating that time to do that. And for me, like, the reason why I do this is it's night and day for me in my private practice now. It's night and day for me, the difference between working in community organisations or working in places as a generalist, working in organisations where people were maybe accessing me for free or at a very low cost, versus being in my own private practice with self-funded clients. It's night and day in terms of the experience that I have. Obviously, everybody is entitled to access, and everybody should be able to access free and low cost counselling, and that is absolutely essential. But for me personally, my experience of fully funded clients in private practice that are seeking me out, coming to work with me, it just feels so different. It just feels that they are fully invested in the process, and I find it that it is much more rewarding work for me personally. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping you guys to recognize that you absolutely can do this, that you just have all of these skills that you have got to learn that you have not been shown before. But as therapists, you are naturally very empathic, that you really do understand your clients. So you have all the essential skills that are there. You just have to learn how to implement them, how to put them into practice. So I hope that has been helpful for you. Do not lose hope. Do not lose faith. You can do this. So I'm just jumping in quickly as we wrap up this episode of the Summer Slump Strategy Series to share something super exciting that's happening in my monthly membership soon. From the 1st of July to the 13th of July, I'll be running the Summer Slump Implementation Challenge. This is all about taking the actions that I'm recommending in these 2 podcast episodes. So you might know that I'm always talking about the importance of accountability and taking action, and that's exactly what my membership is designed for. So during this live challenge, I'm going to walk you through the how-to, and then we'll get down to putting it into action together. We're going to be doing some really impactful stuff like revamping your directory profile, optimizing your social media profile, auditing your website, and so much more. So if you're ready to move from not just talking about it, but to actually doing it, then join my monthly membership for just £47. That's less than the cost of a single client session in a month. And the best part is there is no contract and you can cancel anytime. So I'll pop the link below with all the details on how you can get signed up. And I really look forward to you joining in this challenge. It's going to be so much fun, but it's also going to help move the needle in your private practice and get you attracting more of those dream clients.
So that's it for now, guys. And I just have one tiny little request that I would really appreciate if you enjoyed this podcast episode. If you wouldn't mind sharing it with any peers, other counsellors and therapists that you think would really benefit from listening to it. Any shares and any feedback are greatly appreciated.